What is up, everybody? It's Rebecca Johnson of Supergirl Radio, and it looks like I have Morgan here with me. So, Morgan, oh, wait, what happened to our background?
Oh,
I am not happy with that. Let me make
Oh.
sure that that is corrected.
we're coming to you live from the void.
Oh, my goodness. There is no Well, I'll
Oh,
just,
no.
all right, hang on. I don't know where that background went. I am going to find it again. So my apologies. Took a week off, and I'm totally rusty with StreamYard. So I guess that
StreamYard, what are we doing?
happens. I think I uploaded it to the wrong thing, and that's what probably happened. So we're gonna get that corrected real fast because it was my background, I guess, and I thought it was the background of the stream, and it was not. Okay.
Ah.
Much better.
All
I
right.
feel good about that. So I think
Got crypto going in the background now.
yeah, so we feel better about that. All right, cool. So you have the doc. I presume I
do.
sent it a little late, mostly to try to preserve a surprise that we have for
A
you.
sense of mystery.
A little sense of mystery. So we are going to be talking about Supergirl number 34 from some time ago. I think it
just a
might
little
have
while back.
a couple of years ago, but we're going to get back into the rebirth era of comics because we never finished it. And so we're going to try to do
The
that.
people have been crying out for it, is the thing.
So we are officially going to get started here, and we are going to be talking about some Supergirl comics.
McGurk! I love
Not
typing.
mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because her outfit,
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio Rebirth, your source for the current Supergirl comics back during the time of Rebirth. So your source for Supergirl comics that may have come out a while ago.
Been a little bit.
That started with DC Rebirth. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are going to discuss and review Supergirl number 34, which is a story titled Postmortem and was written by Mark Andreyko, pencils by Eduardo Pansica, inks by Julio Ferreira, letters by Tom Napolitano, colors by FCO Placencia. and cover art by Jesus Marino and FCO Placencia. Jessica Chan was the editor, and Brian Cunningham was the group editor. And I know I basically introduced the issue, but before we get into that discussion of the comic, I have a little video message from DragonCon 2024 that I wanted to bring to the podcast for Morgan. So I hope you enjoy this.
Hey Morgan, it's Jason. Sorry I missed you here. Well, actually, there's 2 Jasons right there. Wait, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5. Hopefully we can meet in the future. I'm not sure if you come to these cons. This is my 3rd one, so I'm not exactly sure what the next step is for me or where I'm going. But I really appreciate you being a fan of Roswell and watching my stuff on Supergirl. So hopefully in the future we'll be able to meet. Thanks again.
Oh my God.
For people who did not watch the live stream and only listen to this on audio, that was a message from Jason Behr, who we've acknowledged on this podcast is still keeping it tight.
He's looking great.
He's looking great. So that was Jason Behr at DragonCon. He was in the Walk of Fame area. And so I asked him I explained that my friend Morgan does a podcast about Supergirl with me. We covered all of his time on Supergirl. And she's not only a big fan of Supergirl, but a fan of Roswell. I told him how much you love The Point. And that you could not be at DragonCon. And I wondered if he would do a video message. He cleared it with the people there. I think he was there, like being represented, I guess, by some convention company that I guess handles celebrity stuff. So he made sure that it was okay. And so then he took my phone and made that message for you. So
that was beautiful. I think only Rebecca got to see this because the video was up, but my reactions were insane. Like I started blushing so hard. Somebody I haven't met, and I was like, oh my God. When he said something, he said something about like, oh, I hope we get to meet one day. I like burst out laughing. Like, me too, Jason. That's insane. Thank you so much. I was truly so happy and blessed by the photo pointing upwards. I sent it to my friend Sarah. I was like, our dreams have come true. Living our bliss. It was more than I could have ever imagined. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I thought, I'm not really like interested in any of the celebrities really this year at DragonCon, but Jason Behr was of note.
Yeah,
and
I was interested in that celebrity in particular.
So I made a point to go by his table, and he was very nice. He was very kind and nice to me. A good celebrity encounter, if there was ever one. He was it. So he was very, very nice to do that for you. And so I thanked him for his contribution to Supergirl's mythology and for his time as Zor-El. So he was super nice. So if you ever do get to meet him, I'm sure you'll have that same experience.
I'll be like, I made it. Oh my God. I don't think I could do it because I'm sweating here in my house. It's so funny because I've met like a lot, like this sounds like such a humble brag, but I've gone to Comic-Con as press a lot. Like I've met a lot of celebrities. I am usually so normal. The fact that I can't be normal behind a computer screen makes me think that truly I should never meet Jason Behr. I will just go catatonic.
I really hope that happens for you sometime. But in the meantime, that's there for you. If you would like, I'll send you the video.
Amazing. Please do. I'm going to, like, the next time I hang out with my friend Sarah, I'm going to be like, Sarah, look it. Jason said hello to me. Max said hello.
My only regret was that I forgot to bring my microphone with me that day. So the audio wasn't as good as I wanted. I wanted it to be better.
It could have been.
But you get some of that convention sound in the background, and hopefully you can hear everything.
It made me feel like I was there, really. Yeah, that's probably why I blushed so much.
It made it real.
It made it too real for me, actually. I need him behind a screen, far, far away.
Well, maybe we could try to have him on the podcast. I don't know if that would be.
God.
I'll see.
You see a podcast of me just completely shutting down brain function. I'm just like, hello.
That only happened to me one time. This is also going to be a humble brag, but I've gone to Dragon Con. This was my 17th year. So
Oh my God. Wow.
I've seen a lot of famous people, and I have had interactions with the celebrities who have come. And so I've gotten to where like I can go up to somebody and, shake their hand and introduce myself. I can do the kind of basic stuff. But there was one time Dean came, and I was in one of those like professional photo shoot situations. I had paid for one of those. And my friend Christy always makes fun of me. Still to this day, I don't know when that was. It was a long time ago. But I froze in front of Dean Cain. Like, I did not know what to say. I didn't really say anything to him when I got my picture with him. And so later I did make it up to myself, because even after the photo thing had taken place, he was at his table in the Walk of Fame area where all the celebrities sign and take pictures. And so then I did talk to him. But for that one brief moment, I had no words. This happened to me.
That happened to me one time when I had a signing somewhere, and like the One Tree Hill cast was there, and I met Sophia Bush, and all I managed to squeak out was like, "I love you." And like very embarrassingly, and I walked away and I was like, "What's wrong with me?" So apparently, I cannot speak to Jason Behr and I cannot speak to Sophia Bush, and that's probably best for the world, honestly.
But yes, so one day maybe we can make that happen. But in the meantime,
Listen,
I had to take advantage of it while Jason Behr was at Dragon Con.
I'm 1 degree away now, like Kevin Bacon style. So like the only next step up is to actually meet him in person. We'll see one day if that comes true.
Well, I hope it does for your sake
Listen,
and for mine, because I hope you take a picture of it when Pixar doesn't happen.
Pixar does. We'll be like, yeah. He's listening to the podcast, so he's obviously welcome on anytime.
Well, I just wanted to bring that since Dragon Con recently did happen. If you are a podcast listener, you would have had the Battle of the Lexus panel pop up in your audio podcast feed. And if you're a subscriber to my YouTube channel, my personal YouTube channel, Duck Milk Prod, you would have gotten a chance to listen to the Rebel Moon panel I did. So those things are out there if you would like to check them out.
Now, when you were at Dragon Con, not to get us too off of Rebirth, obviously, which
we're procrastinating at this point.
We put off for I don't know 5 years or so. Did you bump into any listeners? Did you see any Supergirl Radio people while you were at Dragon Con?
No, but I met some new people who were very surprised. There was a guy on the Rebel Moon panel. He was like, "Oh, so you're like a Zack Snyder fan?" I was like, "Yeah."
Excuse me?
Why else
I'm
would
like
I be doing
the fan?
Why would I be doing this panel if I wasn't a fan? But I also got to spend some time with Michael Bailey, a friend of the pod.
Neat.
He is a Superman expert. He works with Superman homepage. He also has his own podcasting empire, fortressofbailey2.com. He was on the Battle of the Lexus panel with me, and I also went to his panel about the James Gunn Superman movie and the comic book inspirations behind that. So I made a lot of notes about that one, so that if we wanted to read some of those comics or talk about those comics before the movie comes out, we could do that. So I did get to hang out with Michael a little bit, but no Supergirl Radio listeners that I encountered, but met some new people, some new interesting people. So maybe I'll see them again in the future.
And you did a lot of really cool photography, which I liked. I'm following your Instagram account. So I was like, ooh, look at all the cool cosplays. But you also did like a lot of good, cool, like man on the street style photography.
I tried. I've done event photography for a long time, but street photography is a totally different skill because you have to sneak up on people. And the only thing that's like the same about it is that you're taking portraits and you're trying not to be noticed as much. But street photography, I tried to practice storytelling, tried to figure out how to tell a story with one image. So that was kind of my goal for Dragon Con this year. So that was a new and different for me. That was my main focus of Dragon Con. And then I also went to the gaming area briefly because some friends of mine went to the gaming until like 1 a.m. I don't want to do that.
Is this like video gaming or board gaming?
I think it's a lot of things.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know if it's like I didn't see the video gaming, but I think it was a lot of board games, like role-playing games, those kind of things.
I was gonna, or maybe like a Dungeons and Dragons
Dungeons
kinda
and Dragon,
thing.
probably.
I was gonna be like, because if you put out Wingspan, I'm going all night long, baby.
Well,
That's
I think
sort of my ideal convention is like I'm playing Wingspan, I'm meeting Jason Behr. Like those are
that's perfect dragon.
like my hierarchy of needs.
Well, if you ever come to Dragon Con, we'll go to the gaming area.
And
I'll take you to the Walk of Fame and see if we can meet a celebrity of your choice. But yeah, so that was a little new and I'd never been out to that area before, and some friends of mine were out there till 1 a.m, and I was like, "You guys, it's time to go."
Did you play any games?
I didn't play any games. I just went to go get them because they were my ride back to the house.
That is important.
I was like, Rebecca's got to go to sleep.
Someone
I slept for 3 hours last night. I
Oh,
got to sleep.
Convention life. I forgot about it. I haven't been to a convention in a couple of years, so I'm getting rusty.
We got to get you to Dragon Con.
Gotta get those muscles going again, those convention muscles. Lasting all day on one protein bar.
That sounds about right. So yeah, so Dragon Con was a good time. So we'll have to do it again next year. So looking forward to that. Well, speaking of looking forward to things, I guess maybe we should talk about some Supergirl.
Sure. I mean, it's a sort of I'm going to be honest, this is a step down for me from getting a personal video message from Jason Behr, but okay.
So we should clarify that the last time we talked about this run of Supergirl comics was in 2021.
Sure.
So we're 3 years behind on finishing all of this. But
life happened.
The Supergirl TV show was ending, and then a lot of things happened around that. Supergirl was on the big screen.
There was a movie.
So there were a lot of things that were happening. So this run got kind of dropped and put on the low priority of things that we needed to
just
cover.
A little bit backburnered. We never forgot you, Rebirth.
No, we actually sometimes will reference this era quite a bit. So so this was the era of Zinder Cole and Gandello and Rogol Zar. You may
my boy Rogol Zar
may have some of those names in your memory. And so I went back and listened to a few of the episodes we did right before Supergirl number 34 so that I could get caught up on some things and remember what we had talked about. And one of the things that we talked about in our Supergirl Radio episode of Supergirl number 33 was that in that issue, some things happened and we didn't fully understand it, which was very common for this run of Supergirl comics. And there was a reference to a Superman number 14 that had happened prior to Supergirl number 33. So I went back
about the rabbit hole we went down.
So I went back to Superman number 14 just to be a completist here and kind of catch everybody up on what happened in Superman number 14. So in this issue, Superman and Zod fight Rogol Zar, and Zar is taken into custody by the Thanagarian Galactic Security Council. So that's good. It sounds like they've got everything taken care of. Rogol Zar will be in their hands. Also in Superman number 14, John Kent comes up with the idea of the United Planets, which is essentially like the United Nations, but for planets, not just nations. And so that is established in this issue that John Kent is the one who comes up with the idea for the United Planets, which, of course, the United Planets, if you know anything about the Legion of Superheroes, the United Planets operates and exists in the 31st century with them. So they talk about the United Planets a lot. And also in that issue, the Legion of Superheroes shows up to recruit John Kent to join them in the future. So that is a kind of a rundown of Superman number 14. Since we talked about in Supergirl Radio, on Supergirl Radio, to read that so that we understood the context. So that is some of the context that's happening there. But I think before we really get into the discussion of this issue, we probably should say that the Rogol Zar stuff, the whole Axe saga, that's that has ended as far as I can tell.
That's true. Yes. I also did a little extra homework.
Oh, look at you bringing some homework to
This
the
almost
podcast.
never happens that I go above and beyond. But what ended up happening is it's been so long that I guess I wasn't like subscribed to Supergirl Rebirth. I think I was like drafting off of your account for a long time.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, well, okay, let me get like the run that we need to read. So I just put in Supergirl 34 and like a bunch of things popped up. And I was like, well, which of these are Rebirth? I remembered why it is so hard to get new people into comics because of stuff like this. I was like, where do I start? And the internet didn't help me. There was like no clear thing. So then I'm Googling, I'm putting like Supergirl Rebirth 34, Reddit, so I can get like an actual human to like answer this question. And finally I did find a Reddit thread that was like, I'm confused. I was reading Supergirl Rebirth in the trades and then like the order switch. So apparently how they released it in the trades was they did 1, 2, 3, 4. Then they stopped and then they started again with another 1.
Oh no.
Yes, it's fun. So then I was like, okay, so there is no 5, 6, 7, etc. It's just like this. So basically what I ended up doing is finding out which trade aligned with where we were.
You could have just asked me for a link and I would have said it.
No, I was too far down then. I was down that path and I was like, no, I'm going to find it like a normal person would find it, which is to like cry a little bit as you Google Reddit threads. So I did finally find it. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it goes 1, 2, 3, and that's the end of the run. So it turns out that we are much closer than I thought. So we're not in trade 1, we're not in trade 2. Actually, all we need to read, like the entire thing, is trade 3, which is funny. I guess we must have like stopped at like a breaking point. So okay, all of this background to say, I was like, great, did it. I'm just gonna buy the trade on Kindle, Comixology, whatever they're calling it now, and I'll just read through it as we go along and it's all collected in one place. That seems easier and probably cheaper, honestly. So I bought the trade. It opens with not a Supergirl issue. And I thought to myself, what do I do here? Do I read it or do I skip it? Skipping it felt wrong. So I was like, well, here we go. Strap in, Morgan. You got to read it. So,
was this a Leviathan trade or was it a Supergirl trade? Okay,
it was a Supergirl trade. It was on the Supergirl run. But the issue in question was a Superman issue. Superman Leviathan Rising. It says DC Universe #1. I was like, whatever. It said prologue from Superman Leviathan Rising special #1. So that was the prologue to this trade. So I was like, okay, I'll read it. I didn't even see Supergirl on the first page. I thought that was immediately a bad sign. I'm gonna be honest. I was like, okay. But she's all over the issue. So it feels like the cover in this case is lying. But basically, just to take you quickly through this issue, Supergirl arrives at the Danvers residence. She sees that it has been destroyed. There's a flashback to Eliza and Jeremiah. Apparently there was some attack on the DEO. It has something to do with Leviathan. Eliza is like, our friends died for no reason. Like, what's going on? And Jeremiah is like, don't be so down on the DEO, basically. It's kind of a weird time to have that perspective.
Jeremiah.
There is at one point a flashback where Eliza is thinking about Superman talking to Director Bones that has a little asterisk that says, see action 1009 for Superman and Bones' conversation.
Oh no, well, we have to read Action Comics then.
Thought to myself,
is that in your trade?
It's in my, no, it's not in my trade.
Well, what's the trade for then?
truly an amazing decision by everyone involved. I'm just going to quickly.
Why would you put the one's reference in the comic in the trade?
I know. I'm just going to quickly share my screen to just kind of go through. So they're angry at each other. They're like, oh, I'm so mad. And then I don't know why it got out of, I had the exact view on that I was looking for. But yeah, here it is. So you see there's Superman. He's talking to Director Bones. And it says,
look at Bones.
Look at him. He's
got the gloves to cover up his tiny sweat.
He looks like he's like gone through it. I really want to know what's going on with Bones. I'm really invested in his journey as a character. But it says, see action number for Superman and Bones' conversation. Why not just summarize that in some way? If you can put in that little note, you can also be like, Superman told Bones, good job, brother. Whatever. I don't know. I was just like, come on. We have to stop this. We have to all be serious with each other about what we're doing here.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll recap that conversation in the next episode of Supergirl Radio.
We'll get to that. So anyway, Eliza and Jeremiah, they're mad at each other. In the present time, Supergirl is looking around the house. She sees Jeremiah's wedding ring. She picks it up and she thinks, oh my God, what happened? Jeremiah would never take this off. Flashback, and Jeremiah's like, goodbye, Eliza. And he takes it off and leaves it on a table. So way to not know your adopted dad, Kara. But anyway, they're arguing. She's like, I don't believe in the DEO. Why would you re-up again? And he's like, I believe in the greater good or whatever. See ya. And he leaves. And he leaves that ring behind. She's not happy. Back in the present.
Does she have two hands in these?
Okay.
Pants?
I feel like this is very important because this really threw me. So I'm going to present my screen again.
Okay. Because this was a big deal when we were initially going through this run, was that Eliza didn't have hands for a long time, and we didn't understand why. Or no, she didn't have a right hand, I think it was. I think she was missing her right hand. And we were not told why.
So I think it's really important to look at this image right here.
Two hands.
Notice that she does indeed have two hands. I was confused by this as a reader because I was like, what? And it would become further confusing as I got to the next issue, which you and I will talk about, where her hand becomes a major plot point.
Yeah, it does.
But in this prologue, she's got two of them. Neither of them are robot hands. So I was like, interesting that nobody sort of like passed that note along.
There wasn't a note to go to another issue to find out what happened to Eliza's hand.
Or there wasn't a note to like the artist or the writer, like, hey bro, sorry about this. She's got a robot hand. You should draw that in.
Yeah.
No one was briefed on that, clearly. So she's just got two hands. There's never any explanation for why that is. It's best not to think about it. Back in the comic, Supergirl is now looking around the burned down Danvers home. She finds an image of Supergirl with Eliza and Jeremiah. That they're both in kind of like those like flak suit kind of things, like tactical gear, and they're thinking like, oh, this is like probably the closest we'll ever have to a family photo. Meanwhile, in the past, Eliza is drinking a lot of wine. She's throwing everything into the fire, including those the cherished family photos. Stone cold, girl, stone cold. It's
I like this version of Eliza.
Eliza says, agents don't get to have lives, only cover stories. So she's really in her full like breakup era. She's watching on like what appears to be like, I don't know, like a YouTube, like clips from Supergirl's like best, like greatest battles, where like Supergirl's like, you're awesome, Eliza. I love your two hands. And Jeremiah is like, I agree, honey. Wink, wink, or whatever. And she's just like, and I really wanted her to then toss the tablet into the fire. I think that would have been
that really
natural.
would have like concluded that scene.
The natural progression of that scene. She doesn't, because some mysterious creature suddenly appears in her house. and she's like, "What's going on?" And then she says, "What are you?" after she shoots him and nothing happens. And then you see in slow motion the glass of wine like slowly fall and break. And then you see the whole house explode.
Oh.
Dun dun dun.
Well, that explains things that happen in issue
It
number
does.
34. That
It
seems like that would be a really important thing to put in Supergirl number 34.
Yeah, like why was there no box that was like, "See Superman Leviathan"? I know it doesn't look like a Supergirl would even be involved given the people on the cover, but she's in there. Like, I
Her
don't know.
adoptive mother blows up in the house. That's kind of important.
Sort of a big plot point. Back in the present, Supergirl is looking through. She finds a little message in a bottle that Eliza sent to her that left for her. She says, "Kara, if you read this, there are some very important things you need to know. I hope you can understand why things went this way." And then just the word Leviathan. I don't know. It doesn't, like, as a note, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm gonna be honest. I like have some, as somebody who writes occasionally, I have some critiques of Eliza's, like, I don't know what that would be, like a Death Note kind of situation. But also, while this is all happening, Supergirl is being sort of monitored by this
Oh.
person who I'm not sure who that is, and I wasn't sure if you knew. So I just wanted to kind of put her up there on the screen. She's got like sort of a burgundy or purple suit and a mask and some like shoulder pads going on.
That doesn't spring to mind a character, but I feel like I covered this issue in the Leviathan character spotlight that we did.
So it looks like Mind the Gap is saying this is Kate Spencer Manhunter.
Yes, that is seeming familiar to me now. Yes.
My memories of this are very hazy.
Yes.
Because as we all know here on this podcast and as a Supergirl Radio family, the Leviathan arc on the show was different.
It was something.
It was something. It was mostly sort of a product marketing kind of so there weren't like a lot of these sort of ninja characters around. It was mostly old ladies and go-to-market strategies. So I don't really remember her, but I was curious to who that was. So
yes,
basically the entire storyline of that issue that they included. But I was very glad that they did include it because it did feel like kind of necessary to know.
Yes, that fills in a lot of holes for me, having only read Supergirl number 34. So thank you for that background information. We'll definitely have to come with Director Bones' conversation with Superman. So we'll have to dig into that. But that really fills in some of the gaps that I had questions about in terms of Eliza, especially. So that is good to know. It's very frustrating when they don't put that context in there, but that is a common complaint that we have about comic books and crossovers and the like. But yeah, this was when this came out, this was around the same time as like Supergirl season 5, season 6, where Leviathan had been a storyline on the show. And I think they were trying to sort of time it a little bit so that they were connecting and syncing up, which is kind of cool. But the Leviathan in the comic book seems a little more interesting than the one on the show that we saw. But okay, so I guess do you think that catches us up to Supergirl number 34?
I think it does. Yeah. I think between you reading the one Superman issue that we hadn't gotten to and me reading the one issue included in the trade, which it turns out was a good idea to buy.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that.
I feel like we are now fully rounded and ready to dive in.
Okay, good. All right. So the description for Supergirl number 34 reads, quote, "After months on the outer edges of the universe, Supergirl is back on Earth, but things are not as she left them. Her adoptive parents have disappeared without a trace. Leviathan's plans are in motion, and a brainiac lurks in the shadows with its sights set on Kara. Oh, and what about that grave? The truth of who is in it will shake Supergirl to her very core, unquote. I'm not sure what grave they were talking about, but there is
More like
a
a morgue drawer, but
yeah, there's a
that's
medical
fine.
examiner's office in this one. So we are going to be talking about Supergirl number 34. So Morgan, now that we've gotten some of this backstory, what did you think about the story that's presented in the issue?
I do think that with the background of the issue that I read, it makes a little bit more sense. I think had I been going into this cold, I would have been so lost. Just been like, "Wait, what is happening?" Yeah, I still felt a little lost. I think some of that is user error that I have. It's been so long since I've read the Rebirth run. I think some of it is that the Rebirth run itself was really inconsistent in that, like, it depended on what creative team was on it, and the internal consistencies when the creative teams switched would often change. So we do see like Ben what was Ben Rubles, I think his name was.
Yeah,
Ben
Ben
Rubel.
Rubel.
We see him in that one, but I I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last time we ever see him. I don't know. Cat Grant is in the background, but again, we may never see her again either.
So it's so funny that you mentioned Ben, because I made a note of Ben myself, because he's there at the very beginning of Rebirth. And he has like a little kind of cute dynamic with Kara. They have like a little romance. They go to a dance together. And then he disappears during the Gandello, Rogelzar, Zinder Cole situation. And so here he is. I guess that since that has wrapped up, he pops back in here. And I cannot remember if he knew Kara was Supergirl, because he referenced Supergirl, but then he walks past a missing poster that says that people are trying to find Kara Danvers. So it looks like Kara Danvers is missing, which I guess that makes sense. While she was up in space fighting the guy with the space guy with the axe who said he destroyed Krypton, Kara Danvers wasn't around, so everybody thinks she's gone missing.
Yeah, I did like those, like the little head tilts or the hat tilts to like the first part of the run where, it was more grounded, more on Earth. She had like friends and a job or an internship or whatever it was at Catco, that like when she decided to go up to space to hang out with all of these crazy characters, I guess Eliza and Jeremiah were too busy getting a divorce to give her a good cover story about where she was, and they just let her go missing.
It seems like they should have done something.
Thanks, you guys.
So the Ben Rubel appearance, while very brief, I thought it was both kind of funny and kind of sad, because I was like, he played such a big part in the beginning of this run, and then now he's just kind of this afterthought. And so I was
I know.
I hope he shows back up at some point, just because I feel like they need to close that storyline down, because I don't feel like it got the closure that it probably deserved.
It definitely did, and it felt like by switching creative teams a lot during the run, like the new creative team would come in and wouldn't have a lot of interest in what the previous creative team had done. And so that sort of felt like when we went from Earth into space, it was like the first group, the creative team, I think that was like Steve Orlando, like had a whole thing about, her time on Earth and her friends. And then once it moved from there, like the new creative team was just like, whatever. But like they didn't, yeah, I agree with you. I don't feel like any of that stuff was wrapped up. It was just like suddenly she was in space. And I think that's also part of the reason why Rebirth for me has been really like up and down, is that like it doesn't feel like there's a lot of continuity. So at the very least, the fact that Ben makes a little appearance in here, that Cat Grant has a name in the background of like, where is Supergirl, makes me think that they're going to bring those characters back around, just the way that they're coming back around to like Eliza and Jeremiah. And so at least that will give it a little bit more of an arc back around, because obviously this the full Rebirth run was so choppy that they split it into different numbering systems for the trades.
That is insane. Yeah, I feel kind of sad, in addition to the Ben Rubel stuff, that the run of Supergirl got hijacked by a Superman and Leviathan crossover, it kind of became less about her story and the romance with Ben and her job at Catco and her time with Jeremiah and Eliza. That's a totally different comic book. If they allowed that to sort of play out the way it was set up. So unfortunately, we don't get that Supergirl specific thing there. But I think having the reintroduction here of Eliza, and we'll talk about Jeremiah, who pops up at the end of this issue. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed getting back to Eliza and Jeremiah just because I felt like it was something that was not explored that could have been.
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh, I just kind of wish that, if they were going to do like a space interlude, it could have felt more like an interlude, and we maybe could have been checking back with the other characters to see how they were like faring on Earth without Supergirl. Because I do feel like the big "Where is Supergirl" by Cat Grant in the background opens up like a can of worms of like, how has National City been doing okay without her?
Crime has been running amok.
crime is up. Alien invasions are going unchecked.
Lots of bad things have been happening. And they get really excited that they see a flying dog. That seemed new to them. So Crypto must have been introduced to the National City citizens here in this issue.
I mean, I'm always excited to see Crypto, so I get it.
Yeah, no, Crypto actually plays a fairly important part in this issue because he goes along with Supergirl to I think it's a DEO site. It's the Block Black site, which is a classified location where Supergirl goes to talk to Dr. Veritas to try to get information about Eliza's location. And then Crypto goes with her to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where she goes to the Allegheny County Medical Examiner's office. And so Crypto gets captured, and then Supergirl frees him, and Crypto lets loose. He heat visions a guy. So
I know. I was like, oh, Crypto.
So pretty good Crypto stuff here in this one. So I enjoyed that. So for the Jeremiah, Eliza, Supergirl stuff in this issue, what did you think about specifically the Eliza and Jeremiah stuff?
Yeah, I liked it. Obviously, with the backstory of their tumultuous relationship issues, him like going like, I'm going back to the DEO, and her being like, I don't believe in the DEO anymore, after that mysterious conversation between Superman and Director Bones we'll never know more about. So I was like very invested. I was like, oh my God, the parents are breaking up. He left his ring. That's crazy. And I did find it very funny that after reading the first issue, where she is fully to human hands, that in this issue, a giant plot point in finding Eliza was tracking down the chip in her cybernetic hand. So I was like, oh boy, okay. And also I thought it was a little funny, like gallows humor, because we have laughed so much about the hand, the cybernetic hand sort of not being explained and then popping up and then disappearing sort of at random. That hand is like a whack-a-mole sort of situation. So seeing it play such a prominent part in this issue, like this is literally how she finds Eliza, that did make me laugh. I was like, at least the hand as Eliza, R.I.P. Eliza, never forget, as she leaves us, departs us, at least we have closure on her cybernetic hand and some of its abilities. But yeah, I liked these panels in particular that you have up on the screen, where Supergirl goes to the morgue and sees the body of Eliza, which obviously got exploded in that house explosion, and then she has a fond remembrance of honestly, it's a fond remembrance of Eliza, but in a large part, it's a fond remembrance of Eliza's cybernetic hand.
I know!
Which really made me lose it. She's like, and she's even holding the hand in the bag while she's crying about this memory of the hand specifically. And I was like,
she's struggling to open up a sauce lid. She has like a lid that she's trying to get off of this mason jar or something, and she can't do it, and I guess it's related to the cybernetic hand, and she spills it all over herself. So yeah, the memory is more specifically about the cybernetic.
It really is. And I was like, listen, I think, for this version of Eliza, the mystery of the hand has really been a big part of her character journey. And so it seems like we're probably, wrapping up on Eliza here. And I like that the hand got arguably more of a fond remembrance than Eliza. I was like, remember that time the hand did something really funny? That was great.
Well, in addition to that, to be fair, there's a moment in those set of panels in that page where because Eliza is struggling with the lid and spills it all over herself, spills all the sauce all over herself, she says to Kara, how about we do dinner out and we can have some mother-daughter bonding time. So probably Kara was thinking more about that. But I would like to think she was having fond remembrances of the cybernetic hand.
Yeah. For me, it was the cybernetic hand. For Kara, it was all the quality time that she had spent with Eliza, which wasn't arguably all that much since she abandoned them to go up to space pretty immediately into the run. But I was surprised that they killed off Eliza. I mean, it's comics, so killed off Eliza, we always put air quotes around that.
I mean, it's pretty gruesome in the morgue.
She seems pretty dead, but this could always be a situation where they popped off her cybernetic hand and put it on another dead body.
Possibly.
We don't know.
Wouldn't that be a great twist?
That would be such a twist. I mean, I did see her explode in that house, but again, we don't know. But I did at least the art style, like the way that they use the comic medium to have like little boxes of these memories and also little boxes of like the gruesome skeleton. I thought that was really, really well done. Jeremiah coming back at the end was unexpected because usually when Jeremiah goes on a walkabout, he never returns. So to see him pop up, I was like, oh, I figured you were gone forever.
Yeah, I liked the twist that Jeremiah was coming in. He saves Kara from the Leviathan agents who attack her and Crypto, and so he is coming to help them, I guess, in some form or fashion. He looks like he's got a pretty protected suit. Like he looks protected. He's got a lot of weaponry. And so he is ready to fight in whatever battle, I guess, Kara's getting into. But he saves the day and helps her out. And so I'm glad that Jeremiah gets to live on in the comic, even if he didn't on the show. They basically forgot about him for a long time and then killed him off screen.
Then they were like, oh, we got to wrap that up. Somebody gave them the big binder of like all the forgotten storylines in Supergirl and then like highlighted a couple that they should maybe go back to.
What a bummer. Jeremiah Danvers dies off screen. Still bitter about it.
I think it honestly would have been funnier if they had just left him out there forever. And then if in the finale, Alex, after the wedding, goes to Kelly, I feel like there was something I forgot to do. Oh my God, my dad. And then it just like fades to black.
That's the credits.
And then that's the last we see of Alex. We don't know if she's actually going to do anything about it.
But he's still out there in the woods somewhere. He's off living off the land. So.
Kelly's like, babe, it's been years. Let's go on the honeymoon. Let's do the honeymoon first at least.
What if on their honeymoon they spotted Jeremiah Danvers? He was like on the beach somewhere.
He peers from out of like a sand dune. Congratulations, honey.
That would have been so much better than killing him off screen.
What a great ending that would have been.
So Jeremiah Danvers gets to live on in the comics.
He does. He's
the
there.
way he is killed off on the show. So I like the focus on the Danvers family here. I think the stuff with Eliza, with all the panels and the cybernetic hand, I thought were very emotional. Really put me in Kara's emotional thought process as she looked at the dead body and found the hand and had those memories. And so I guess going from Eliza's death to Jeremiah being alive and helping her is a good arc in the like a small arc in this issue where she has one Danvers parent who dies and then one who saves her life. So I like the way that played out. So I'll be interested in seeing what Jeremiah does in future issues.
Yeah. I also like I'm interested in what this take on Leviathan is, because we've done like a character spotlight on Leviathan, but frankly that was so long ago that my memories of it are hazy, and unfortunately my memories are mostly on like what Supergirl the TV show did with Leviathan, which again, so little.
It involved Rama Khan though. So there
It
was
involved my boy Rama Khan. There
Pencil
was
skirt.
Pencil Skirt. There was what was her name? Julie Gonzalo's character.
Andrea Rojas.
Andrea Rojas, but she was mostly just like the CEO. Yeah, there was a lot. It was like a lot of tech talk combined with a lot of like, I'm an ancient god. And I was like, I don't really know that those two things mesh great. And then they told us that there was going to be, that we actually hadn't even met the head of Leviathan.
Oh, yeah.
And then we never did.
We just never
did.
Just never came back around to that.
So I do feel like the bar is pretty low for Leviathan stories for me personally. Like they could almost do anything with this, and I think it's going to be better than what the TV show did. But so I'm coming into this Leviathan storyline really, really generous rating.
Yeah, low expectations for me. So I thought this was pretty good, actually. It was like, I kind of understood what was happening in the issue. I followed Supergirl's emotional journey, and it had a good cliffhanger, so I felt pretty good about it. One thing that did not have anything to do with the Danvers family that I wanted to ask you about was Brainiac.
Yes,
So
that's true. That seemed very separated from the rest of the story in a way that like it didn't even really connect. So I'm wondering where they're going with that.
Yeah, so this was teased, and I think issue 32 maybe. When I went back to listen to some of our previous episodes on this, I think they sort of teased it in an earlier issue that Brainiac 1 and Lex Luthor were teaming up. And so this one kind of furthered that relationship along as Brainiac 1 goes to the Fortress of Solitude, and Lex wants to give him all the knowledge of the fortress. Somehow he has that on a USB thumb drive that he gives to Brainiac 1. I don't know.
Incredible. That did make me laugh a lot.
So he gives him the thumb drive. Brainiac is able to get into the fortress and then gets all the knowledge of the universe essentially through this experience. And I was very curious, Morgan, for your take on the artistic interpretation of this Brainiac.
I did want to talk about this because he looks like a big old bug. I don't know how best to describe it besides big old bug. That's sort of his vibe. He's got like a lot of arms. They're all kind of insect-like. He kind of looks like I'm trying to think of what exact insect he looks like, and I'm blanking on it. But he's like maybe like a praying mantis almost.
Maybe.
But yeah, it's different. It's a very different Brainiac. We usually see Brainiac look more like, like a robot or a computer or something like that. This guy, he's very bug-like. He's crawling around the Fortress of Solitude, putting his little bug fingers all over everything.
He definitely looks like an insect, and that's interesting because what it looked like to me, and I have no confirmation of this, but it looked like the concept art from Tim Burton's Superman Lives.
Oh,
the story of the Nicolas Cage Superman movie that never happened.
I have heard a little bit of it. Is there like there's like a documentary on it or something?
There is. I think it's What Happened to Superman Lives, something like that.
I've been meaning to watch it because I feel like I heard Kevin. Oh my God, how am I gonna? I cannot blank on his name. Like he lived in the Red Bank. Kevin
Smith.
Smith, yes. Oh my God, because it's Smith, the most obvious last name. It's hard to get more nondescript than Smith, and yet somehow I forgot. I've heard Kevin Smith like talk about this before, about like the lore behind the like forgotten Superman that almost happened, but I've never seen like the documentary about like what happened to that.
Yeah, so it's called The Death of Superman Lives: What Happened. It's actually
Ah.
pretty good. Some of the graphics aren't very good, but the interviews are very good, and it tells the story of what the story would tells the story of the movie story of what it would have actually been like. And in that story, at some point, Lex Luthor and Brainiac combine to become
Oh.
Lexiac, and they and it's the head of Brainiac, but then it's like on the body of a spider. So
Oh,
that,
how does Lex come into this?
I think Lex is like some of the knowledge or something. I can't remember how he like puts
This-
himself in there.
What a way to learn that Lex is secretly a spider person.
So the spider-like Brainiac in this issue reminded me of the one from Superman Lives, and so I don't know if that was intentional, but that's what I saw.
Yeah, that design almost looks like, I think they have a character in Nightmare Before Christmas that's like a little spider person or something like that. It feels very Tim Burton. That design.
I think is very Tim Burton in terms of like the way it looks, but the influence, the mandated aspect of that was from John Peters. So if you've never heard Kevin Smith tell the story of his time working on Superman Lives, you should watch it. It's probably on YouTube. Just look up Superman Lives, Kevin Smith. And he tells the most amazing story of his time working with John Peters, who was the producer of that movie. And John Peters really wanted to have a spider in that movie because he said it was the fiercest animal in the animal kingdom.
Incredible.
And so I'm not going to ruin that story. If you've never heard the story, the ending of that story is amazing. And the way Kevin Smith tells it is incredible. So just, you might want to see the movie Wild Wild West before you listen to him tell that story.
The Will Smith movie?
The Will Smith movie. It's going to come into play. So make sure you watch that as homework before you listen to Kevin Smith tell that story.
That's so funny. I cannot wait to look up this video.
It's incredible. It's a legendary talk that he gives about his time working because he was the screenwriter for that movie initially.
Right.
So he explains the spider connections to Superman Lives. So that's probably why Lex and Brainiac were ending up as the spiders, because John Peters really wanted a spider.
The most fearsome creature. This is what I think when I find one in my bathroom, by the way.
I'm not making fun of it. Like, I'm scared of some spiders. Jumping spiders can be very cute though, like furry with the big bug eyes. They're kind of really cute. But the rest of the spiders can just get out.
I don't want them in my house is the thing. They can do their spider thing anywhere they want, just not here.
Just
You're
not in
welcome.
my space.
It's like a vampire situation. You're not welcome past the threshold.
This is not your house. So
no.
You're not paying for this.
Regular spiders, Brainiac spiders, any kind. I'm saying no.
So that's what the Brainiac looked like to me in this one. But did you have any additional thoughts about Brainiac 1?
I know. I was just mostly interested in like how he's gonna play a role in the story, and also like why Lex is talking to him. That whole part, I wasn't sure what was going on there. I feel like obviously it's set up for something later down the line. And I couldn't remember, because it's been so long since we've read Rebirth, I couldn't remember if there was set up in prior issues that like this was playing off of, or if this was kind of its own new thing. And I was just like, I'm just going to go like it's its new thing so I don't have to like do any research.
It's teased a little bit, but I think this is the first like real big aspect of the story that's being presented to us. And I really, one of the things I liked about this Brainiac Lex Luthor thing is that Brainiac is really skeptical of Luthor. He's like, I don't know if I trust this guy. I don't know. And then he has the thumb drive and he's like, well, let me see if he's telling the truth. So he seems convinced that Lex Luthor is being honest with him and is giving him things and not messing with him. But I did enjoy that Brainiac 1 was very skeptical of Lex Luthor and didn't know if he should trust him for this.
He's like, I don't know.
So I'm curious to see where this goes, because I mean, he's just getting information right now, so I don't know what he's going to do with it. Well, did you have any favorite pages, panels, anything that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, the honestly, the 2 panels that are behind you right now are the 2 pages that are behind you right now. Those are my favorites where Supergirl discovers the remains of Eliza and that
That's
cybernetic hand.
locations 12 and 13.
Yes, yes.
They're
Yeah, and
not
she
pages in Comixology, they're
Oh,
locations.
that's right. Well, it's actually probably different locations in mine too, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, because
Because
you're
I got
you're
the
reading the
trade.
trade.
So I'm on for if you have the trade, uh these are page 32. I don't know how they're both page 32. That's not to question the Kindle app. But yeah, this is where she finds the skeletal remains of Eliza and has that memory of Eliza and her cybernetic hand, so happy together in the past, and starts crying. I like the way that they set up those pages, and the art I thought was really nice.
Yeah, I really liked those pages as well. Also, shout out to the small panel of Supergirl and Crypto chilling on the roof in National City. I really enjoyed that. And then another Crypto mention on location 20, kind of very at the very end of the. I think it's the last page of the issue where they see that Jeremiah Danvers has come to save the day. Crypto puts his paw up on Jeremiah Danvers' leg, and
Aw.
I enjoyed that a lot. So I thought Crypto was used to a great, very effective degree in this one. So so I really loved all the Crypto stuff. Well, Morgan, how are you feeling about digging back into this run of Supergirl comics?
Yeah, sure. I feel like I'm rusty, but I feel ready, I feel ready. I was like, "Oh, yeah, Eliza and Jeremiah. I remember these guys. Ben, my buddy. Pew, pew." It's like going to a reunion, like, where you haven't seen everybody in a really long time. You're like, "What's up, you crazy kids? Sorry about your hand." So I feel like I'm not ready, but I am ready. I probably should have tried to, like, refresh my brain in some way, but I just thought, "Nah, I read that extra issue. That's good enough." So I'm kind of going in blind. My rebirth muscles are still kind of weak, but I feel like, it's all uphill from here. I'm gonna be good.
I did like that this issue felt like it was somewhat standalone. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
you obviously had to have known that Eliza blew up in a house, which I didn't know,
Which
so
is
you helped
good.
me with that. But for the most part, I was able to follow the issue pretty well. I knew what was happening. I knew what Supergirl was doing. I kind of knew like what she was figuring out. So I didn't feel too lost in this one, which is pretty good for a lot of this comic run where things were very confusing for most of the time. But yeah, so I I approached Morgan a couple of days ago and I said, "What do you think about digging back in and finishing those that rebirth era of comics, because we probably should do that. We're in a point now where we're kind of in a lull period where we could just kind of do whatever we want to." And so I was like, well, let's take 8 episodes and finish it off. Then we never have to deal with it ever again.
Then we're done.
So we're gonna take the next little bit to finish off this run so that we can feel like we're completist. We've
Exactly.
finished it off and we've consumed everything that we possibly could of it. So thank you for agreeing to doing
I was
it.
excited to go back. I was like, we can't. Every time we talk about going back to rebirth, it's like, well, we know we got to do it at some point. We can't like just never go back. We're so close to the end. After 34, 3 issues. We can't just be like, good enough.
So it took us 3 years to get back to it, but
It did.
we're doing it now. Here we are. We're doing it. So that is exciting. So
I see a comment in the chat from Stanley who says, also do more crazy old Supergirl comics.
So that is also something. Well, not too old for the next little bit. And correct me if maybe I'm speaking for you, Morgan, but I think what I would pitch for us to do would be to finish off this rebirth era and then start the Peter David run.
Yeah, I hope we do that because a couple of months ago we had been talking about it, and I just went ahead and bought the first trade, which has just been sort of sitting on my desk. So I'm ready to go. I haven't read it because I'm like, no, I want to bring fresh perspectives, Uh, but it's ready whenever we're ready.
Good. Well, those are old. They're not like Silver Age comics. We've covered a lot of Silver Age comics. So if you want to go and listen to those, we had a game night where we talked a lot about
yeah.
Silver Age comics. And we've done a lot of character spotlights that involve a lot of Supergirl, Silver Age, the Super Pets.
I read a little bit of like Silver Age stuff to be on a podcast called Supergirl Power Hour. Like,
right.
So honestly, a long time ago now, but but if you want to look it up in your podcast app, I'm sure it's still up there. Where I read a couple, and they get really wacky in the Silver Age, which I enjoy.
So you can go check those out. Well, the reason I would like for us to cover the Peter David run is that a lot of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow references the Peter David run, and so in anticipation to the movie that will be coming out in 2026. I feel like this is probably the best time as any to read the Peter David run because it probably will take us a while to get through. So by the time we get to the movie, hopefully we will have finished the Peter David run and we'll be able to cross that off of our Supergirl comic book runs. But and eventually I want to get back to the 70s and 80s because it's kind of one of my favorite eras of Supergirl comics. She grows up a little bit. She gets out of the Silver Age and she goes to college and the stories become a little more sophisticated. And so I really like that era. So there's some kooky old things that happen in those comics too. So we'll cover those. But I think perhaps the next thing we do after we get through these issues is maybe tackle the Peter David run because it is quite lengthy.
I'm excited. I saw Mind the Gap has a comment. This Supergirl Rebirth has one more storyline that ties into another major event.
Oh no! In addition to the Leviathan stuff,
how? There's only 8 issues
left. You can always work it in.
Synergy.
We'll have to look for all the notes in the issue so we can go back and read all the necessary things that are referenced in the issue. Okay, well, I think that's going to do it for this discussion. So that's our thoughts on Supergirl number 34. If you haven't bought it yet, Supergirl number 34 is available in the DC Comics app, Comixology, Google Play, and read at DCEntertainment.com. Or you could just get the trades like Morgan did if you want to do that. And so if you would also like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com, where you can find all of our previous episodes of the Rebirth era. Just type in Rebirth in the search bar and all of our previous episodes. So you can go start on Supergirl number 1 and listen all the way up and catch up to where we are in number 34. Because those are all on our website. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on X and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. Supergirl Radio is part of the DC TV Podcast and Multiverse of Color Network, so give those a look. You can hang out with us as we go live and wired on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and the Supergirl Radio Facebook page. And DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you are in need of DC or DC TV or DC Comics related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, magnets, tote bags, pins, phone cases, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
And since Brainiac and Crypto are featured in Supergirl number 34, we have some designs in the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store that we would love to suggest.
Yeah, we've got designs of Brainiac's ship, which is that skull thing with the little tentacles that come out. We've got a design of that. And then also a really cute cartoonish looking Crypto with his
so cute with
cape.
His little cape.
Yeah, you can get that in pillow form. If you want a Crypto pillow, you can get a Crypto pillow, which I think is pretty cool and would look good on your bed or your couch or in a chair that you want to put it in.
I think so.
Yeah, so we've got some pretty cool designs there in the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store. We would also like to thank our legion of super sponsors. These people are Michael, Anne Marie, Yvonne, Nicola, Abby, Miriam, Nicole, Brian, Ethan, Danny, Majuba, Zachary, Annie, and Rachel. And you can go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio if you also would like to be a legion of super sponsor. You can check me out on the interwebs at various places. I'm on Vero True Social at Derby Kid. If you follow me there, you would see that I just watched The Union on Netflix, and I found it to be actually a very wholesome movie with Mark Wahlberg and Halle Berry. I enjoyed it very much. It was not something I had to think about a lot, but I enjoyed it. It was very it was just an enjoyable movie that I had a good time watching.
I like those. We recently watched the Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, and it was kind of similar. Like it was just kind of it just enjoyable. It's like a lot of stunts, a lot of things go boom.
Yeah, I also want to see that. So that's good. It's a good reminder that movie exists. I'll have to check that out. Sometimes movies don't have to change the world. Sometimes they're just entertainment.
They're just sometimes you just want to have a fun time.
Yeah. So all right, good recommendation and kind of putting that back in my mind. So I'll go check it out later. I'm also on Instagram. If you want to see the pictures I took at Dragon Con, you can do it there at the Derby Kid. And you can follow and subscribe to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/duckmilkprod. I've been doing some interviews recently. I can tease that I just did a sit-down interview with Dave the Film Junkie. Got his origin story and talked to him about video editing, which was pretty fun. So I'll have that coming out soon. Also, the Rebel Moon panel I did at Dragon Con is up there as well. So if you want to check those things out, you can go over to Duck Milk Prod. And I do a travel blog with my brother at Oasis Broom. So if you want to check that out, I'm going to try to get some Irish content back up and so finish some of that out. So I'm on various places if you want to check me out.
Nice. You can also find me on the internet at Mojotastic on Twitter and Instagram, and also as a co-host on the Legendary Ladies podcast, where we just covered a couple of shows. We did a couple weeks ago. We did interview with the vampire, and we did the pilot pod for that. We also did Amy and I did a pilot pod for Emily in Paris, which Rebecca, have you watched Emily in Paris?
I have not, but I've been to France a couple of times.
Nice. I kind of desperately want you to because I don't know how to describe this show. It's like if you want a show that you can turn on and then turn your brain all the way off. There's no thinking aloud while watching this show.
Oh, exciting.
No thinking at all. But also, she is a marketing person who specializes in social media, and as the show goes on, she becomes more of a social media influencer. She mostly does this by like taking a picture of herself with a croissant and then like putting like a pun in the caption.
No.
And people are like mon ami Emily. She is so witty, and it's the most insane thing I've ever seen. Every time like Mike will turn to me and be like, "Is that right?" And I'm like, no, it's not. No, that's not how any of that would work. That in real life, it can't.
It doesn't sound like she's trying real hard.
She's not. She's not. It's the most insane thing I've ever seen. We're already on season 2.
There's more than one season.
There are 4 seasons.
No,
it is fantastic. I'm gonna watch every season. I'm gonna watch every episode. I cannot wait. We just watched the first episode. I want to say like last week or the week before, and I'm already into season 2. The other nice thing is they're all half-hour episodes.
Oh, that is
so
nice.
It's so easy to just like put one on, then like before you know it, you're like 3 deep, and you're like, maybe I too can become an influencer by just taking a selfie with a cup of coffee. Cafe time. Anyway, it's insane, and I really want you to watch a couple episodes.
Maybe we could do a pilot pod for Patreon, and then that'll be my way in.
Your introduction to the world of Emily. They're like, oh my God, the French, so different. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it sounds like according to that show, the French have a low bar on social media.
It seems like they think everybody does. It's very funny. It's like none of this works that way. You would think, honestly, as I was watching it, I was like, oh, was this show made in like 2014? No, 2020.
Oh.
No excuses for the way this approach to social media at all.
Is Emily during the pandemic? Like, is she?
Oh no, the pandemic doesn't exist in Emily in
doesn't
Paris.
exist in this.
At
Okay.
least in the seasons that I am watching, there is no pandemic. It's
I
all
would kind of understand it if like she was
people
like
are
shut
starved
in her
for
house.
content.
Yeah.
Making like little TikToks where she's dancing. No, she's not even putting in that much effort. I want you to know that a TikTok where she dances is way more effort than Emily puts into any of the things that she posts online, and yet her account's taken
I'm a
off.
little insulted.
It's hilarious. I was like, this is I had already knew going in that this show was sort of like tailor made to make me angry because I work in social media. I worked in the past for a French company. And so and so I was like, there's no way this isn't gonna be all wrong. And it's very wrong. But it's very fun.
All right. Well, where's it streaming?
It's on Netflix.
Oh, easy. Okay, so I will put it in my list and I will give it a shot.
She's so amazing, Emily, in her times in Paris. And I believe the next thing that we're thinking about covering is the Winona Earp movie that's coming out at the end of this week. So I think we're going to be probably talking about it sometime next week. So you should check out the Legendary Ladies podcast on all those places that you can check that out.
Good stuff. I always learn a lot about what's out there with the Legendary Ladies. So do
I actually. Half the time I'm like, they're like, do you want to do this? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. I haven't really heard of it.
Well, it's good to know what the options are. So definitely go check out the Legendary Ladies. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio and our time digging back into the Supergirl rebirth era of comics. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
I'm still Morgan Glennon. And thanks for joining us as we catch up on the Supergirl comics.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah!